Oh, hello there. My name is Marshmellow. I am the famous guinea pig girl's dog. Shh, don't tell anyone. I have a story to tell you, though it is a little bit chaotic. It's that time of year again, Christmas time, the best time of the year. Or so they say. I agree with them. There's snow and popcorn strings, and ham. That's the best part. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting off topic. Back to my story. My story started out on a normal, calm day. It was Black Friday, actually. Me and my family, the Apples, usually stay home on Black Friday since it's so busy. It's a nice, chill day. I lay down my head while Amy reads a book. It was getting towards the evening. The sun was going down, and I looked hopefully at our fireplace. Tonight was nice and cold, perfect for a cozy fire to nap by. Mrs. Apple called from the kitchen, "Supper time, everybody! Come to the table!" I sniffed the air. Oh, heavenly smells came from the kitchen. Amy smiled at me and said, "It's okay, Marshmellow. If you're a good girl, we'll give you some bones." I looked up at her hopefully. Maybe some bones and some dinner scraps? Amy just laughed and walked over to the table. Unperturbed, I walked under the table and did my best begging face ever. I heard contented munching above me while I crunched on my own dry, plain dog food. I sighed. Amy gave me a pat on the back with her foot. I looked up at her hopefully. Giving up hope on ever getting any supper scraps, I headed upstairs to see what Rosie was up to, Amy's little guinea pig. Rosie was also eating a scrumptious dinner of carrots and a side of parsley. I was jealous. It seemed like guinea pigs got a lot of better food than a dog. All I got was little tiny balls of brown stuff. Who had the idea that dogs needed that kind of thing for supper? Rosie stopped chewing and hopped over towards me and said,
"Sad about dinner again?"
I nodded, making a whimper. Rosie looked at me and smiled.
"Here, take this carrot. I bet this will make you feel better."
I wagged my tail and said, thank you, Rosie. I do ever so want your carrot." Rosie smiled at me and bowed and went back to her meal and munched. By the time I had finished Rosie's carrot and headed downstairs, the Apples were washing the dishes. Mrs. Apple came to the kitchen and said, "Amy, me and your father have something important to tell you." Amy looked up expectantly at her mother. "What is it?" she said. Amy and her dad, who were doing the dishes, stopped. "Well, we both decided that we want to go on vacation this year for Christmas." Amy's eyes widened, and my tail started to thump wildly. Could this be happening? We were going to go on vacation? I had always wanted to go on vacation. I'd never been anywhere else except for Alicornia. Then it hit me like a bullet to the heart. Mrs. Apple grimaced. And Amy's father, Mr. Apple, said,
"But there is one thing that I regret to inform you, Amy. Marshmellow and your guinea pig, Rosie, are not allowed to the resort we are going to."
My tail stopped wagging. Could this be happening? The dream of my life being taken away from me just the very moment I thought was coming true? My head went down, and another whimper escaped out of my lips. And just like that, my perfect Christmas was ruined. The Apples packed up and left, leaving me with just the guinea pig. I sighed. Rosie said,
It won't be that bad. Things will brighten up for us."
I thought, that's easy for her to say. At least she'll be able to visit her sister Lily and her brother-in-law for Christmas, and I'll be all alone at the house, dreaming about ham that I'll never have. Later that afternoon, Goggles came. I guess he was going to be our caretaker. I sighed. This was going to be a miserable Christmas vacation. Goggles approached me and said,
"Hey, girl. How are you today? We're gonna work on a project together.
I wagged my tail and greeted him. No sense in being rude, I thought to myself. Goggles opened a briefcase and pulled out strange and odd contraptions. What was he going to make? I sniffed at them suspiciously. Goggles laughed.
Be careful, girl. I'm not sure what all of these things can do, but we're gonna find out.
He scratched my ears right where I liked it. I closed my eyes and closed my mouth. Oh, I felt good. Sadly, he stopped scratching me and began to work on whatever project he was going to do. I watched and cocked my head. Huh? I kept saying. If only Goggles understood my questions. I would have asked him 20 of them, maybe even more. Finally, he was finished. After 2 days, except for lunch and dinner breaks, he had been at the Apple's house working on the project. He laughed wickedly. I cocked my head.
Oh, I'm sorry. Old habits. Still in the brain.
He said, tapping his head. I smiled at him. He was okay, I guess. He held his new creation, a collar with a strange black thing hanging in the middle, and said,
Okay, here, let's get this thing on.
I couldn't help it. I just had to ask one question. It didn't matter if he understood. I asked, what is it supposed to do? Goggles' face lit up and he said,
It worked! It worked!
My eyes widened. Is that what it's supposed to do? Am I dreaming? Goggles shook his head.
No, you're not dreaming. I can understand you.
I said, not sure what else to say. Thank you, Goggles. This is amazing. Goggles smiled and said,
Consider it to be an early Christmas present.
with the Apple's permission, of course. I went to go see my brother, Bill. He was a small sort of guy. Well, the size of an average beagle.
Hey, sis, what's up?
He began. Oh, nothing much, I started. Except I got the most awesomest Christmas present ever from Goggles. Now people can understand every word I say. Bill's eyes widened. Then his expression changed to his normal, chill expression.
That's cool, sis.
I was used to my brother's chillness. His chillness had always irritated me as we grew up as puppies. But I decided to let my brother off the hook this time. I said, So, what's up, Bill?
Tuesday.
I smirked. Oh, yes, it's Tuesday. Tuesday was the only day my brother Bill was not chill. There was a pause, and suddenly my brother Bill exploded.
Oh, it's here, the bacon. Oh, it's here.
He exclaimed, trembling, his tail wagging. He almost looked like he was going to fly off the ground like a helicopter. I giggled. This was my favorite part of the week, and was also Bill's favorite part of the week, but for a different reason than my own. I loved watching Bill get excited about the bacon. He'd start to drool and start running circles around his owner's living room. It was the most funniest and wonderfulest sight you could ever see. After Bill had calmed down, I noticed something. A magazine. A typical magazine. One for Christmas. It was open to page 16. I noticed something that started the whole reason I am telling you this story. The picture was of a family, all smiling with perfectly white teeth, all dressed up for a nativity scene in front of their home. I had seen many humans do this. It was a Christmas tradition for them, to dress up and reenact the Christmas scene. The whole reason we celebrate Christmas. Jesus' birth. And an idea came. Why couldn't dogs do a nativity scene? A dog Christmas pageant? I gazed at the picture thoughtfully. Bill noticed and said,
Hey, sis, you've got that look on your face.
"What look?" I said.
You know, the one where you have a good idea. Tell me, sis, I'm your bro. If you need something, I'm here. Just let me know.
I smiled at him and said, "You know, there is something."
Aha! I knew it.
Soon we were out on the streets, hanging posters for any dog that was interested in doing an audition for my Christmas pageant. Bill and I cried, come here, grab a poster."
Meet at the Apples if you want to do an audition.
"For a dog Christmas pageant."
Come here, look at posters. For a dog Christmas pageant. Meet at the Apples for auditions.
Then I saw Mrs. Alessandro approach us, holding her little chihuahua. She exclaimed to us.
Oh, aren't you cute?
I said, "Why, thank you." Mrs. Alessandro jumped and said,
You can talk?
quickly explained to her about Goggle and his new invention. Mrs. Alessandro nodded in understanding. April looked down at me and asked,
Can I do?
"Well, of course, you can be part of my pageant. I'd love to have a little chihuahua like you," I replied. I was so excited. A chihuahua in our pageant? People were gonna love it. I was gonna love it. After handing out many posters to many different kinds of dogs, even a cat, me and Bill headed to a farm called "Welcome to Alicornia's Apple Acres. How can I help you?" greeted the farmer whom we approached. Howdy, sir," I said. We would like to talk with your sheep, please."
My sheep? Sure. Go behind the barn. They're in their pen for winter.
I nodded to him in thanks, and me and Bill headed to the pen. There they all were, about 30 of them maybe. They were all nice and woolly, looking at me curiously, their long black ears twitching. I had always found sheep hard to understand, since their accents were so strong. I said, "Excuse me, do you by chance have a couple of lambs that would like to join a Christmas pageant?" All of them looked at me blankly. Then one approached me. A ewe. She looked like she was in charge. She walked that certain way, like somebody in charge. She was all black, except for the star in the middle of her head. A spot where a horn for a unicorn could be, I thought. She bawed, "Yes, we have a couple lambs that would like to be in a Christmas pageant." My ears perked, and I scrunched my face, trying to understand. Several sheep agreed. "Meh, meh, meh. Yes, we have kids who like to go." Everyone was silent at the same time, but I hadn't understood a word they said. I said, "What?" Leading you explained. "Yes, we have lots of lambs that would love to be part of your Christmas pageant." I nodded and smiled. "Oh, great. Meet at my house today at 10 with your little lambs." The ewe nodded, and they all went back to munching their winter hay. "Thanks so much," I called after her. Again, I was at the Apple's house, waiting for something to happen. The time seemed to crawl slowly. 9:30, 9:35, 9:45, 9:59, 10! Oh, it was finally time. I looked out the window. Nobody had shown up. I tapped my foot nervously. A lot of animals are late, usually. Yeah, it'll be fine. I held my breath, looking outside the window, at our front yard where the auditions were supposed to be. Okay, it was getting to be 10:05. What was going on? Nobody coming? Was my plans going to be ruined? Then it all happened at once. Everyone came at the same time, except for the lambs. My brother Bill came, and what looked to be a gray hound, and April with her owner, Mrs. Alessandro. And what was that? Was that an otter hound? I came out, my tail wagging so fast. I was so excited to see everybody. He hadn't left me hanging. I let out a huge sigh of relief. In the inside, of course.